Frank Lawson's auto shop was a staple in Houston, the kind of place where engines roared louder than the radio and the smell of oil hung in the air like an unspoken welcome. On this particular Friday, the mood was tense. In the center bay sat a rare imported V12 engine, its polished metal glinting under the fluorescent lights. Despite weeks of effort from his most skilled mechanics, the motor stubbornly refused to start. Frank had begun calling it the impossible engine, a name that stuck among the crew, each of whom had tried and failed to make it roar again. Frank stood beside the engine block, arms folded, frustration etched into his weathered face. He was a man who had spent 30 years building a reputation for fixing anything with wheels. Yet this machine seemed determined to tarnish that legacy. The shop's best minds had replaced parts, run diagnostics, and even contacted the car's overseas manufacturer. Still, nothing worked. Every failed attempt only deepened the challenge, making the V12 less of a repair job and more of a puzzle no one could solve. By now, the crew avoided it like bad luck, preferring simpler jobs that didn't bruise their pride. That afternoon, the sound of the shop's side door swinging open cut through the hum of compressors and clinking tools. Samantha Sam Lawson walked in, her long brown hair pulled back, a university backpack slung over one shoulder. At 22, she was sharp-eyed, quick-witted, and already knee-deep in her mechanical engineering degree. She'd grown up in the shop, a little girl with grease-stained hands, watching her father rebuild engines. Though she had never officially worked there, Frank looked up from the engine, a sly grin spreading across his face as an idea formed. "Hey, Sam," Frank called out, his voice carrying just enough mischief to get the crew's attention. "Why don't you take a crack at it? Let's see if my kid can fix what my best guys can't." His tone was teasing, but there was an edge of curiosity beneath it. Around the shop, a few mechanics chuckled, shaking their heads as if they were watching a friendly joke unfold. They knew Sam was smart, but this was no ordinary repair. The V12 had humbled the most seasoned among them. Surely a college student couldn't do better. Sam stopped, her eyes landing on the massive engine. She could feel the skepticism radiating from the crew, but it didn't bother her. A small smile tugged at her lips as she set her backpack on a nearby workbench. "All right," she said, casually, rolling up the sleeves of her sweatshirt. "Let's see what's so impossible about it." The room quieted slightly, not from belief, but from curiosity. They'd all tried. Maybe watching the boss's daughter take a swing at the impossible would at least be entertaining. Sam tied her hair into a neat ponytail, her movements calm and deliberate. She grabbed a grease-stained notepad from the workbench and began jotting sketches of the V12's layout. Instead of diving in recklessly, she worked like a detective at a crime scene, eyes scanning every bolt, every wire, every connection. She pulled a small flashlight from her backpack, angling the beam into hidden crevices most of the crew had ignored. The shop's laughter faded to quiet murmurs as they watched. 30 minutes passed before she looked up and tapped a tiny misaligned timing gear buried deep in the engine's heart. "That's your problem," Sam said matter-of-factly, as if pointing out a crooked picture frame. A few mechanics exchanged doubtful glances. One even muttered, "No way." Frank hesitated, caught between protecting his daughter and his curiosity. Finally, he gave a slow nod. "All right, Sam, go for it." She rolled the engine stand slightly forward, donned a pair of gloves, and reached for a precision toolkit. The room settled into an almost reverent silence as the youngest person in the shop prepared to tackle the one thing no one else could. With methodical precision, Sam loosened the assembly, adjusted the tiny gear, and carefully realigned it with the timing chain. Her hands moved with the steady confidence of someone who knew exactly what they were doing. After securing the gear, she plugged her tablet into the diagnostics port and ran a fresh calibration sequence. Numbers scrolled across the screen, and Sam's eyes tracked them with unwavering focus. Satisfied, she wiped her hands, stepped to the driver's side, and pressed the ignition button. The V12 exploded to life with a thunderous, perfect roar, the sound filling the entire shop. Its deep, smooth purr was music to a mechanic's ears. The vibration seemed to run through the floor, up into the boots of every person present. No sputters, no warning lights, just pure, flawless power. Frank's jaw went slack, his disbelief written across his face. The crew stood frozen for a moment before slowly turning toward Sam, the reality of what they'd just witnessed sinking in. "How did you?" Frank finally managed to say, still staring at the engine. Sam smirked, her expression half pride, half playfulness. "The engineering degree helps," she said, "but mostly, I've been watching you fix engines since I was 5. For a moment the shop was silent, then the crew broke into applause. Frank's chest swelled with pride, replacing the initial shock. The impossible engine was no longer a mystery. It had been solved not by experience alone, but by a lifetime of quiet observation and a sharp mind proof that Sam belonged in the shop as much as anyone.